Thank you. My name is Esmeralda Simmons. I'm on the staff here at MedgarEversCollege. As a priest of Shango in the Yoruba Lukumi tradition, I have been asked to pour libation on behalf of all of us. And first, I ask the permission of my elders to speak. Thank you. Now, as you all know, in our tradition, it's not a lecture, it's call and response. So, at the right time, I'm going to ask you to first call out the names of well-reputed, this is true libation, folks, not any old person, well-reputed literary ancestors, Eguns. But before that, let me start. Mojuba Lofi, Mojuba Lodamari, Mojuba Egun. Praise God. Praise the God of the laws. Praise the God of our people. Mojuba Egun. Praise our ancestors. Mojuba, the Ile, this house, all of the people gathered here together. Mojuba, the Center for Black Literature. Mojuba, MedgarEversCollege. Mojuba, the City University of New York. Mojuba, each and every writer present here today. Mojuba, each of us that read the writings of these griots. Mojuba for our parents. Call them out. Call out your parents. Mojuba for our freedom fighters. Call them out. Mojuba and Ibaye to these distinguished literary eguns. Of course, our patron saint, John Oliver Killings. After that, you say, John Henry Clark, Amiri Baraka, Audre Lorde, Zora Neale Hurston, James Baldwin, Langston Hughes, County Cullen, Gloria Naylor, Derek Walcott, Chinua Achebe, Maya Angelou, Dick Gregory, Octavia Butler, Lorraine Hansberry, Gordon Parks, Claude Brown, June Jordan, Gwendolyn Brooks, Phyllis Whitley, Alex Haley, Richard Wright. Now name others. Ashe. 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 And now we all say together a large Asheo. Asheo!
Please thank Esmeralda Simmons one more again. Good evening. Yes, yes, it sounds good, but we can do even better. Good evening. You happy to be here? Yes. Are you happy to be here? Yes. Have you been having a good time? Yes. Clap your hand if you've been here all day. There you go. Yes. My name is Mo Beasley, and I have, all right. That's my auntie Esmeralda right there. Hey, auntie. I am delighted to be your host for this evening. I'm honored. I need to do some housekeeping before we get into the party. Turn your phones on vibrate. Put your phones on vibrate, please. Don't turn them off. Put them on vibrate. I know you want to take some pictures. I know you want to post to social media. I would ask if you can move closer to the center so when we take group pictures, it looks real nice and cozy and full. So all the folks who missed the fun can be like, I should have been up in there. So the hashtags are hashtag NBWC 2018, hashtag NBWC, hashtag Black Writers, MEC. Y'all got that? Do I need to say it again? All right, first hashtag NBWC 2018. Hashtag NBWC. Third one, hashtag Black Writers, all caps MEC. Black Writers, all caps MEC. Let the world know we're here. Let them know what they are missing. Let them in on the fun, because you can live stream it, catch it on your Instagram, Twitter. It's that kind of party, because the world needs to know about this. So, and with that said, what a wonderful occasion for us to come together to honor and celebrate the life and the achievements of our esteemed guests. Yes. The Honorary Chair, Dr. Merle Evers Williams. Yes. Go ahead, that's right. Clap as much as you feel it. We want to give it up to our honorees, Colson Whitehead, Kwame Dawes, David Levering Lewis, Susan L. Taylor, Stephen Barnes, and Tanana Reeve Dew, and Eugene B. Redmond. Give it up for the honorees of the 14th Annual National Black Writers Conference at MedgarEversCollege, brought to you by the Center for Black Literature. Now, I want to say that because we want the folks to remember. This conference pays tributes to our storytellers, our scholars, our cultural historians, trailblazers who left a legacy. I am a proud graduate of Howard University in the theater. Say it again. Ain't you? Ain't you? What we say? Thank you. Ain't you? You know. We are obnoxious for a good reason. I'm a proud graduate of the Howard University Theater Arts Department, so you know some of my classmates like Taraji Penson, Anthony Anderson, Chadwick Boseman, Susan Missick, some of my alumni. And those are the actors who are making big strides on the screen. But one of the first lessons I learned when I got there as a freshman at Howard University, I remember her name was Kahimbe, my voice coach, and she said, art defines a people. It defines their hopes, their dreams, their failures, their longings, their loss, their dreams, their fantasies. And it must come from them to be authentic. We come from a history of other people telling our stories, so they are inauthentic, they are not true. You have chosen to be an artist, you have chosen to be a storyteller of our legacies, so you must tell the truth. That is your job, that is your calling, that is your cross to carry, that is your burden to bear, that's your work, young man. It's my joy. Thank you, Sister Sonia. It's my joy. I love telling our stories. So we are here to celebrate the storytellers. Because before it ever hits a screen, before it ever hits a shelf, before it ever gets to you any other way, it comes through their fantasies and their imaginations. It comes through their hopes, their dreams, their fears, their longings, their truth. So we're here to celebrate them. Is that all right? Yeah. Is that all right? So let me give you a little history so before we get into it. So since 1986, the National Black Writers Conference have been hosted here to broaden and enrich the public's knowledge and aesthetic appreciation of the value of black literature. And today's program is a continuation of that idea that began here by the late John Oliver Killings. By the late John Oliver Killings. Make some noise. These conferences, symposia, and literary programs give the writers, poets, creative thinkers, and scholars who participate in the programs and the audience the space to discuss culture, history, and politics as it pertains to the black experience, and to share our individual and collective experiences from a literary perspective. And I also want to thank everyone for joining us, because it is your support that truly makes a difference. It is your support that is for the survival of our esteemed black institutions, such as MedgarEversCollege, the Center for Black Literature, Howard University, Third World Press, the Schomburg Institute for Research in Black Culture, Weeksville Heritage Society, and Bedford-Stuyvesant Restoration. It is now my pleasure to introduce to you Richard Jones from the Center for Black Literature Advisory Board. I'm sorry, let me back it up. That's right, baby. I just won't get into it. Y'all understand, right? It's not just me, right? So it is now my pleasure to introduce to you Richard Jones, Center for Black Literature Advisory Board member and Executive Dean for Accreditation and Quality Assurance at MedgarEversCollege. Please welcome Dean Richard Jones.
Thank you, Mo. Hotep. Baragani. Hello. How you doing tonight? It's my pleasure. First of all, I want to give praise, and also I want all of us to just give out some positive spirits to Dr. Merle Evers. She's our honorary chair, but she's also been under the weather, so I'd like us to kind of give out some positive spirits for her this afternoon. It's my pleasure to welcome all of you to MedgarEversCollege on behalf of President Rudolph Crew and our Provost Augustino Gareke. Our most dear Merle Evers would be with us, as I mentioned, but she's under the weather. It is my pleasure also to welcome you on behalf of the Medgar Evers Community Council, the faculty, students, and staff of Medgar Evers College as well. We consider ourselves a beacon for educational and cultural opportunity for our students here in the Republic of Brooklyn. We serve over 7,000 students in 4 of our schools, our academic schools here at the college. We also serve over 35,000 students in our continuing education program. This is our 14th annual National Black Writers Conference, as Mo indicated, and it represents the vision and legacy of John O. Killens. We honor him, each and every one of the honorees we also honor, for their commitment to excellence in bringing our stories to life through fiction, speculative fiction, poetry, memoir, and the many other diverse forms of prose. We want to send a special wish out to Cullen Whitehead, because he has the flu and has not been doing well. So he's one of our honorees, so please, as I mentioned, let's send out positive feelings and spirits to him as well. The conference in these past 13 years have not been possible, could not have been possible, had it not been for the Center for Black Literature under the leadership of Dr. Brenda Green. She has a talented staff, many of which are former students of ours, alumni, and also volunteers, and they should be acknowledged as well. It is a signature program, not only in this college and university, but it's throughout the world. It has international impact on the delivery of the message of Black literature, and the evidence of this have been the number of writers throughout the world that have attended this conference and conferences before this. The theme, Gathering of the Waters, Healing, Legacy, and Activism in Black Literature, is indeed most appropriate at this point. All of us know that the joker that's in the White House is trying to push back us to a time of, well, we won't even talk about that time. But what I want to say, though, is to recognize some of the leaders that some call them politicians, some call them elected officials, but I call them warriors, and sheroes and heroes, because they have demonstrated to us in Brooklyn that they are, in fact, supporters of our people and protectors of our people. And I'll call out some of their names. One is sitting with us today, Kevin Parker, Senator Kevin Parker. I'm going to mention Eric Adams, who's our borough president of Brooklyn. Senator Jesse Hamilton, who is not with us, but his representative is. Lori Combo, Councilwoman. Our esteemed Congresswoman Yvette Clarke, Councilman Robert Carnegie, Assemblyman Walter Mosley, and Assemblywoman Diane Richardson, who is a graduate of MedgarEversCollege. I'm told that I should be short because we have a long program, but I wanted to, before I leave, I wanted to mention to you that there have been a number of institutions and individuals that have collaborated with the Center for Black Literature and also the National Black Writers Conference. And I just want to mention a few. One was mentioned, Restoration Plaza, Restoration Corporation. The others that should have been mentioned was with Hunter College, was also the Third World Press, which was also mentioned, and also Sacramento State University. So hello to them, because we are streaming, so I want to make sure that we give them some notation as well. And then lastly, again, I just want to recognize our Shiro, Dr. Green. It is not, someone mentioned yesterday that institutions are not buildings, and they surely are not. If it not been for her wisdom and her vision, I do not believe that the Center, nor other National Black Writers Conference throughout these years would have continued. It has been her strength, her sacrifice, and her vision. So, again, on behalf of the college, on behalf of our many students, our students who come from Central Brooklyn, but also come from throughout the city, we welcome you. We hope that you will enjoy our village as you've enjoyed the last 3 days, and honor our honorees as we do each and every day. And I just want to say lastly again, you know, as an elder, and it's kind of hard for me to say elder, but as an elder, I went to jail because when I was in college to make sure we had black faculty, black administrators, and writers like the writers that you see here before you this evening, because they were not coming on our campus. And many others, my sisters and others, went to jail just to make sure that we had those opportunities. And to have a village that welcomes writers and scholars, as well as the folks like you in the audience here, to just to enjoy and also to honor our own, to me, is a blessing. It's a blessing for me because I'm able to see it. And as I said, it's difficult for me to say elder, but I am. And I want to thank all of you and thank Dr. Green.
Give it up again for Dr. Dean Richard Jones. I have to call him Dr. Jones. You Dr. Jones too? Speaking of doctors, I'm about to bring up the queen mother of this conference in the Center for Black Literature, the OG of the Center for Black Literature. Quiet as is kept, her name in the underground freestyle ciphers is Doc G, but y'all didn't hear from me. Between us. But here she's known as the director of the National Black Writers Conference, founder and executive director at the Center for Black Literature, chair of the English department at MedgarEversCollege of the City University of New York. Like I said, she's a G. Y'all welcome Dr. Brenda Green. She makes it happen. I need some more noise. Dr. Brenda Green.
Thank you, thank you. Greetings to everyone. As Dean Jones said, it's really hard to recognize that we are now the elders, right? I'd like to, again, excuse me? Well, oh, yes, that's right, we are. So welcome to our esteemed conference honorees, Kwame Dawes, David Levering Lewis, Tanana Redu, Eugene Redmond, our literary activists, I don't know if she's still here, Louise Merriweather, faculty, staff, students, and alumni, our participating writers, poets, scholars, editors, publishers, friends, and of course you, our conference attendees. Bob Marley, lyrical genius. Freedom in the Family, a mother-daughter memoir of the fight for civil rights. W.E.B. Du Bois, the fight for equality and the American century. Drum Voices, the mission of Afro-American poetry. In the Spirit, Lessons in Living, the Underground Railroad. These names represent the titles of some of the books of our honorees. They embody the conference theme, Gathering at the Waters, Healing, Legacy, and Activism in Black Literature. This year's conference continues our tradition of ensuring that the texts produced by Black writers in the Americas, in Europe, Asia, and Africa are known and read by the general public, and that they are represented in our schools and in our libraries. One of our participating writers who is not here, Michael Simongo, poet and writer, reminds us in a book that he recently wrote, no one can be at peace until they have freedom, and that history is made through forward motion. This conference is a testament to the importance of freedom and the value of forward motion. It centers on the ways in which Black writers use their writing to heal and restore their individual selves and the collective community. It also examines the instrumental role that writers have played in building our cultural history, the imprint that this has left on Black literature, how the literature of Black writers impacts present day and future generations, and the significance of activism in the work of Black writers. A major strand of this conference has been community conversations on race, resistance, and activism, and our panels and roundtables speak to that theme. Our nation and our communities need safe spaces for these conversations. Community spaces where people feel free to discuss and raise questions about the sensitive issues that challenge us And as Killens pointed out, that those questions that ensure our cultural survival. It was mentioned the Center for Black Literature was founded in 2003, and one of the major goals was to host the National Black Writers Conference. We also have through the Center for Black Literature a major program on youth, re-envisioning ourselves through literature, where we bring youth, we connect youth and teaching artists. Mo Beasley has been one of our teaching artists, and we ensure that they are reading and writing their own stories that represent themselves. We began on Thursday night with the legendary film on Lorraine Hansberry. We had a poetry cafe on Thursday evening. We continued with the documentary on Sonia Sanchez, Bad Sonia, on Friday morning. We had scholarly papers on our conference honorees. We had workshops and panels on literary activism in the post-Obama era, the Black arts movement. We had a poetry slam for the first time, a poetry slam and open mic with students at MedgarEversCollege. Today we continued with films sponsored by African Voices, readings from our Elders Writers Workshop, another program of the Center for Black Literature, and workshops and panels on Gathering at the Waters. We had readings by 3 writers, Desiree Cooper, Keurig Paulo, and Rosamond King. And of course, you just saw the conversation between Bernice McFadden and Donna Hill. Tomorrow, Sunday, we continue with workshops and conversations on the influence of race and politics in literary narratives and the state of publishing for Black writers. So I want to thank you for coming. I want to thank C-SPAN for taping the conference. And finally, no program can happen without the community, without a collective team effort. There are many who have helped to make this conference the success. There are too many to name, but I do want to highlight our program sponsors who gave us funds for this conference: Office of Brooklyn Borough President Eric Adams, New York City Council Member Inez Barron, New York City Council Member Lori Cumbo, the Amazon Literary Partnership, the Brooklyn Delegation of the New York City Council, Capital One, Con Edison, the Gladys Kriebel Foundation, Humanities New York, and the New York Historical Society. We have over 35 partners and supporters that are listed in your program journal, and we have over 20 media friends and supporters. I want to especially acknowledge Aquila Work Songs, our major media sponsor, April Silva and Aquila Work Songs. And we have over 25 supporters throughout MedgarEversCollege. This is a college-wide effort. Many departments in the college helped to make this program possible. I also want to acknowledge my immediate team, Center Director Clarence Reynolds, for his extraordinary work. Okay. Maisha Lewis, Logistics Coordinator. Our administrative team, our part-time administrative team, Nyemba Moore and Terry Clark, and of course the National Black Writers Steering Committee. All of them are listed in the program booklet. I want to give a special thank you to Tara Regit Tomlinson from the MedgarEversCollege Office of Institutional Advancement, who helped us to obtain additional sponsors. And I want to acknowledge Valon Beasley, who coordinated the open reception, our opening reception at Aquaba Mansion. We want to support Black institutions. That was a wonderful affair last night, and we had a reading with Sonia Sanchez. So I encourage all of you to continue to enjoy the conference, to support our writers, to purchase their books. That's a strong way to support writers. To support the work of the Center for Black Literature, you can visit us on our website. We have a donation page. And lastly, John Alva Killens would be smiling if he were here. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Dr. Green. So, I got to see the Poetry Slam last night. I miss y'all at Aquaba because I was listening to the, forgive me for saying it, but the babies spit fire. And it was wonderful to hear them go, "Black queens and black kings, listen to me." I said, because we never say that. That's never been said before. But there was a beautiful young Muslim sister who won the slam, and she spit this poem about conditioners and this great metaphor about how the conditioners you put in your hair and what kind of conditioning they put you through and take you through and pull you to. And I thought, okay, the future looks bright. The fire was bright. So with that said, I would love, please help me bring up to the stage Judy Jackson, the sponsor of the Irene Aponte Scholarship Award and student awardees, Hadia Harrison, winner of the Irene Aponte Award. Please welcome them to the stage.
Thank you. A writer is not just someone who writes words. Their words have texture. When a writer writes the word perfume, you can smell the scent, or savory, and you can taste the flavor. My sister, Dr. Irene Alana Aponte, started writing plays at the age of 12. As her younger sister, I got to be the star character in most of them. She was a writer, an actress, a teacher, a political activist, a wife, and a mother. Her thesis in 1986 was around the validity of Black English as a language at a time when that was a very controversial topic. While a professor of English here at MedgarEversCollege, working alongside her very close friend, Dr. Brenda Green, she was diagnosed with breast cancer at the young age of 35. During that time, Irene's husband was suffering from leukemia, and her older sister, our older sister, was dying with colon cancer. And all of this while Irene was being a mom to her very precocious 5-year-old daughter, who is here in the audience with us today. Please stand, Christina Aponte Smith. Thank you. While all of that was happening around her, she was still going to get her doctorate degree. We told her to stop, rest. Too much is going on. She said, nope. I'm going to have Dr. Irene Aponte written on my tombstone. And that she did. At 38, she left us much too soon. Thank you for this opportunity, for allowing us to continue her legacy. It's my personal honor and the honor of my family to present this award to Hadia Harrison in memory of my sister, Dr. Irene Alana Aponte. Thank you.
So I'll be brief. I'm a better writer than I'm in at public speaking, but I just want to thank Dr. Green and the family of Irene Aponte, her sister, daughter, and niece. I'm a student here at MedgarEvers. I'm originally from Philadelphia, and I have really strong ties with writing. My grandfather was a film director, so I'm just excited that I had the opportunity to be able to apply for this scholarship, and as far as I'm understanding, that the scholarship was dormant for a few years. So I'm glad that it's able to be resurrected, so students like me can continue the legacy and contribute to the legacy of the alumni of MedgarEversCollege. So thank you.
Congratulations. Oh, and they forgot to mention, with that award comes in $1,000. I think that's a good thing to know. Congratulations. Spend it well, writer. Cash is the fuel, is it not? Ashe, cash is some fuel. For the fiction prize winner, please welcome to the stage. Yes, I did say Ashe, cash is the fuel. I heard you. God knows. Oh, so for the fiction prize award winner, please help me welcome to the stage Professor Donna Hill and prize winner Kendra Pennington. Give him a little bit more, give him a little bit more. That's it. Come on up.
Good afternoon. I didn't have a great speech like that, but I have some wonderful things to say about this young lady. I had the pleasure of working with her in my fiction writing class last semester. And you know how you can always see that spark of something special in a student? You know they got something. And she's hiding, but she got it. And so this year, our English department had a fiction writing contest, and we had several submissions, and hers sailed straight to the top. So we are very proud of her. I know I am. I feel like I am the reason why she's here today. But I know that she's going to go far. We were talking earlier, and she's saying, you know, now I'm interested in writing plays. And I'm like, go for it. Whatever your dream is, just do it and just write and tell your story. And so I would like to introduce you to our creative writing winner this semester, Kendra Pennington.
Hello, my professor is making me talk because I don't really like to talk. I'd rather just write and just have people read maybe. But I'm a student here at MedgarEversCollege, a mother of 3. And a lot of things I'm experiencing here are new to me and exciting. And I was just so happy to have won the contest because I didn't think it was even any good, but I just threw it in there anyway. But yeah, thank you. Oh, wait a minute. Let's fall down the stairs.
All right, one more time for Kendra Pennington. Professor Donna Hill. The mentors mean everything. Mentors mean everything. I would never think that I would do this thing called performance or writing or storytelling. And I had a high school history teacher help me one day in the lunchroom, just doing homework. And he walked over to me and he said, "Morris, you have it." And I said, "What you mean, Mr. Sullivan?" Irish teacher in Boston during bus desegregation. So an Irish man coming over to a black boy during that time and said to me, "You have it." I don't know how to explain it. I don't know anything else other than to say what it is. Either you have it or you don't. You got it. Make sure you use it. Mentors mean everything. So let's give it up to mentors. And I know these honorees can speak to that. And it's time that we thank them for mentoring the stories and the truth they tell. So please help me welcome to the stage our honorees for this evening. Kwame Dawes, Tanana Reeve Dew, David Levering Lewis, Eugene Redmond, and Susan L. Taylor. Give them some more, y'all. Give them some more. Welcome them up. Come on. All right, y'all can have a seat, I think. Make yourselves comfortable. So, there's some honorees, you know, it's a literary conference, but some folks is fancy. They come with slideshows. I ain't gonna call no names, Susan L. Taylor, but it's great. So she's got a surprise for us. So she is in the house. I know I called her name, you might not have seen her, but she is getting ready. Okay, I don't know what's happening with the screen, but it seems to be dancing. You know, it wants its moment as well. So, honorees, you have 5 to 7 minutes to say your thank yous. I do have a stopwatch. Because we storytellers can't be verbose. And so C-SPAN, I believe, has been kind enough to leave some microphones here. So you can do your 5 to 7 minutes, Phil Donahue, Oprah style, or you can come over here to the podium. So can we leave it up to them? Stage manager, Simone Wah. Can we leave it up to them? Y'all give it up for our stage manager, Simone Wah. The folks behind the scenes that make it happen and make it look seamless and keep a screen from acting up. So, Simone, may I continue? Simone, may I continue? Susan, you coming up? You coming up? TMI. I was busy. Do not tweet that. All right. So we're good now. We're settle on down. Uh-oh. Got to say hellos, that's right. That's it. Please tell me y'all are tweeting, posting this, telling the world about this. Yes. Thank you, Dr. Green. This is what makes this so special. We need to have reunions, gatherings, at the water. So I'm gonna play a little game. And Dr. Green says it's because it's the teaching artist in me. So as opposed to just reading their bios, I'm gonna shout some things out from their bios, like clues to who the next honoree is. And if you can guess who it is, there'll be a prize for you. I'll give you free tickets to the conference. So I'm gonna start with the first honoree. Are we ready? So some of this honoree's publications go by the name of Back of Mount Peace. Shout out if you know it right away. Hopes of Hospice. Gomer's Song. Good try. I like it, keep it going. I'm about to say the gender. Bob Marley, Lyrical Genius. Say it again. Please welcome to the stage, give it up for our first honoree of the evening, Brother Kwame Dawes. Oh, hold on.
So before you...
Rewind. Step back a second. Rewind, y'all didn't see this. Roll the tape back. Welcome to the stage, Kwame Dawes.
And Kwame Dawes is getting the Gwendolyn Brooks Award in recognition of his outstanding contributions in poetry and the literary arts, the 14th National Black Writers Conference. No, we're doing pictures afterwards.
Do that, do pictures afterwards? Photographers, we had this conversation. Don't make me take your lenses. This is happening at the reception. We're doing what? What are we doing? They can do them now? They can do them now? Since Simone said you could do it now, I won't take the lenses. Welcome. It's yours, brother.
Good evening. incredible honor to be here, to be invited to this occasion, and of course to be given this remarkable award. It's remarkable because of the person who it's named after, Gwendolyn Brooks, who was a remarkable poet who spent a life as poets do in that sort of closed and private world of creating language to capture the spirit and the heart of a people. But the difference is that Gwendolyn Brooks also felt compelled to share what she knew, to share the passion that she had for language, for the passion that she had for expressing a culture and a society and a people to others. She made it her life to mentor, to support, to encourage, to open doors for people to move from one publisher to the other so that a publishing house could be established because of her fame and her authority in making that move for our people. And she represents a tremendous example for any writer in this world, frankly, and particularly for black writers around the world. Now, one thing I'll say is it is not necessarily true that all writers have to be supportive of other writers. There's no law that says you have to be. And there's no law that says that when a door is opened for you, you should open it for somebody else. There's no law that says that. And we know there's no law that says that because there's a bunch of people who don't do that. However, there is a gift in that for you yourself. And I always believe that it doesn't make sense me being a successful writer alone. I need a crowd with me. I need a crowd of voices with me. Because it then allows our voice to be varied, to be complex, to be full of dimension, to be full of all kinds of diversities. And I think that's one of the things that has driven me as a person. Tonight, my wife is here, Lorna Dawes is here, and we've known each other, yep. We've known each other for a long time. And she's lived through me being a writer, me doing this kind of thing and so on, and she's been incredibly supportive, so it's great that she's here. And of course, my daughter is here, who is not planning to be a writer, and but she's counseled, she's my lawyer, to be, yeah, that's right. So it's good that they're here and that they're here to support me. I'll say one last thing. My passion today is the work that I'm doing with African poets. I come from a remarkable life that is a life that understands what Africa means inside the world. My grandfather was a Jamaican who moved to Nigeria to work as a teacher at the turn of the last century. My father was born in Nigeria and then moved back to Jamaica and grew up there. My mother is a Ghanaian who married this Jamaican, Nigerian kind of guy. And we moved to Jamaica. I left Jamaica and went up to Canada and then went to South Carolina, the other African part of this country. I believe in the Pan-African spirit. I believe that no question about it. And for me, my experience in America has been one of incredible gratitude. That I've been asked to stand here as somebody who is not from here, and that I've been recognized for the work that I do is humbling to me, and it's something that I'm tremendously grateful for. And because the leadership that African Americans have shown in the world, the struggles that they've done, that you've gone through, have benefited people like me. It's not that we didn't struggle in Jamaica or in Africa, but we have to understand that we are part of a single body and a single voice that speaks out. And I really honestly believe that. And I believe that the more we can recognize that unity of spirit, that African sensibility, the better it is for all of us. So I thank you for this occasion, I really do. And I will just keep it going, you know? Yeah, man, thanks.
Yes, my brother. Thank you, Kwame. Brother Dawes, thank you. You got a way the stopwatch was going, but they was talking to me. They had some things to say, but you have more wonderful things to say, so thank you again, Brother Kwame Dawes. So before we move on to the next honoree, there's some folks who came in that I want to acknowledge. Slid in the back door, but have been huge supporters of the conference for years. He was the dean of the city council. He was a city councilman for quite a while, retired as a city councilman. He was the chairman of the Black and Puerto Rican Caucus. So I've been told that Brother Al Van is in the house. Would you stand up, Dr. Van? There he is. Thank you. Great to see you, great to have you here. And also, another partner in crime of his and ours, Brother Charles Barron is in the house. He is the chair of rage and righteousness, always. Wakanda forever. Brooklyn too. They didn't even tell me you came in. What? Y'all see Sister Inez Barron is in the house as well. The real power behind the rage. There you go. The rain to keep the rage from burning everything down. And a powerhouse in our own right. Thank you. Great to see you. Next up, receiving, well, you know what? If I tell you what award she's receiving, oh. Stop, man. I'm psyching you out. I'm psyching you out. So if I tell you what the next award she's receiving, you'll know who it is. So I'm not even going to go there. So, again, shout out if you know. The next awardee published Freedom in the Family, a mother-daughter memoir of the fight for civil rights. Y'all ain't fun. At least play with me. At least tease me and act like you trying to guess. So please welcome our next honoree, the recipient of the Octavia E. Butler Award, presented to Tananarive Dew, In the Blood, My Soul to Keep. You're welcome. Welcome.
And the award is presented to Tananarive Dew in recognition of her dedication and commitment to creating a body of speculative literature. National Bachelor of Science.
Thank you so much, Dr. Green. The National Black Writers Conference, everyone who's here, the luminaries on this stage. I want to say first that my husband, Stephen Barnes, is also receiving this award and could not be here because our flights were canceled with the inclement weather, and I was the only one who could make it. So he is here in spirit and was very sad he could not come. So he extends his greetings also and his thanks for this award. Wakanda forever! I'm so full right now. I just tweeted about the conference with a gift from Black Panther. We are home, that moment where Okoye is piloting the, we are home, and that's how I feel to be here. I feel like this is home. Thank you so much for your work to bring writers together and to celebrate specifically the legacy of Octavia E. Butler, in whose name I have received this award. I'm both thrilled and sad, you know, and the thrill is, of course, for the obvious reasons, but the sadness is because Octavia should still be here. We lost her too young. She had too many stories to tell. And she had so much left to teach us, which is what she was trying to do with every single book she wrote. And I hope in my way to also contribute to my own learning and our learning through the fantastic arts, the worlds that are not real, the futures that have not happened yet, although with Parable of the Sower, Octavia's novel and parable, The Talents, it feels like that future is right around the corner. And some of us passed it a block down the road. Some of us have passed it. So her work was a specific inspiration to me after, say, a recent election when I could barely gather thoughts, much less perception and understanding. I'm still trying to perceive. And really, I understood then why so many people have been drawn to those earth seed parables and parable of the sower to gain strength and sustenance. The only lasting truth is change. Those aren't just words, that's reality. And then I said, oh, and change is always a shock. And change, by the way, does not always have to be for this, for the worse, in terms of the political landscape. Because of you, the readers, the archivists, the scholars, the esteemed panelists, we are hoping and trying to build a community of change through the arts, which is so very, very important because the headlines are overwhelming. You don't know what even to believe half the time. What happens to 1 million people is a statistic, but a story about one person can change hearts and minds. So we strive to create those uplifting tales, those tales of leadership, those warnings. Octavia's books were warnings to us. And we often could not hear her, and we did not always heed them. But as an artist, I'm very much inspired by the idea that if you are willing to look unflinchingly into your worst nightmares, which is a lot of what I write, then maybe inside there you find a kernel of truth, a kernel of inspiration, and the strength not only to survive, but to move forward, to move others with you, and to thrive as a people, as a people. And from that, we help the nation thrive. And from there, we help, it's all a domino effect. So thank you so much for this award. I hope I'm not over my time. I'm just so excited to be here. I'm so glad I could make it, even if Steve could not. And I miss Octavia every day. This is very special to me. Thank you so much.
You got 2 minutes and 45 seconds left. We thank you for your brilliance and brevity. Thank you. And someone shouted it out and corrected me. I said something like, in the blood. No, it's the living blood. I do know it's the living blood. Thank you for those. And I was going to call you out to see if you was going to take your man's award, but I'm glad that but I wasn't going to put it on you if you wasn't. No, absolutely. But, so we're going to shout him out later. You said, what'd you say?
I'll talk for him too.
You talk for him? And we will let you, right? Can she talk for Stephen Barnes? Yeah. Before she does, I got some more housekeeping to do. There is a reception afterwards, and it is in the Skylight room on the 2nd floor of the brand new, pretty little building across the street. There are tickets still on sale, and the tickets help to keep this conference, this center going, this work going. So, as Sister Sonia said the first time I came to the conference many years ago, and she said, if you say you love my work, buy my book. So if you say to Dr. Green, we love this conference, buy a ticket to that reception. All right? So we'll see you over there? Yeah. Next up, this, no. Now, this honorees field is comparative history, with a special focus on the 20th century U.S. social history, imperialism in the 19th century Africa, 20th century France, and Muslim Iberia. He has taught at the University of Notre Dame, Howard University. Say it again. There you go. Who said Levering Lewis? She get a prize. Prize over there, the whole name. Y'all give it up. Please welcome to the stage, David Levering Lewis. Give him love, give him love. Let him feel it some more.
David, the W.E.B. Du Bois Award is presented to David Levering Lewis in recognition of his outstanding Historical and Biographical Work in American Letters. Center for
Doctors Merle Evers Williams and Brenda Green, fellow honorands, fellow writers, it is with unalloyed pleasure and humility and renewed purpose that I accept your worthy award bearing the name of one of America's greatest minds. If I may, I want to begin my brief remarks with Du Bois and end with them as well, because it seems to me his judgments of what our group of wordsmiths should be doing remain ever salient. In 1914, pioneering sociologist and eloquent man of letters William Edward Burghardt Du Bois regretted that, as he judged, the time had not yet come, quote, for the great development of American Negro literature. The hardships of earning a living and the scourge of racial discrimination precluded, said he, the necessary leisure and poise. But a mere 10 years later, the new Negro movement in arts and letters exploded upon the American scene with such unexpected urgency and revolutionizing perspectives that many of today's literary scholars and cultural historians have come to think of the Jazz Age as synonymous with the so-called Harlem Renaissance. Even more telling, however, is the general public's ongoing awareness of the vital role of African American writers and poets who have played in the construction of the modern American identity, an awareness of which this 14th National Black Writers Conference represents a splendid continuum. To insist today that the literary territory stretching between the two world wars belongs as much to Langston Hughes and Zora Neale Hurston as to Ernest Hemingway and Fannie Hurst should no longer surprise us. Similarly, the luminous Jean Toomer merits as much Jazz Age space, if not more, than the now neglected Sherwood Anderson or the nearly forgotten Waldo Frank. And what American writer of the period excels the existential insights of the enigmatic Nella Larson? As we look back, what becomes obvious about the African American writers whose work calls our attention this afternoon is that although entering the Republic of Letters on terms less than equal, they formed part of a vanguard of cultural growth and liberation that moved the United States from Victorianism to modernism, from religious fundamentalism and patriarchal authority to moral relativism and greater visibility of women and people of color. This vanguard resulted from one of the most fecund creative conjunctions in American history, from the intersecting and overlapping of two universities whose epicenters were located at the opposite ends of Manhattan, Negro Harlem, and Greenwich Village, Bohemia. Not all the artists, writers, and intellectuals who made and were made by these two universities actually resided in Harlem and the Village. Alain Locke was a professor of philosophy in the nation's capital, while H.L. Mencken, whose American Mercury magazine set much of the intellectual tone of this age, commuted from Baltimore. Similarly, two African Americans whose fiction commenced the Renaissance, Claude McKay and Jean Toomer, were Harlem outsiders who eventually chose to live anywhere else but within walking distance of 135th Street and Lenox Avenue. The point, therefore, is that Harlem and the Village were also places in the mind, constructs of culture to be found in brownstones on the Howard University neighborhood, in faculty houses, on the Fisk University campus in Nashville, in the Algonquin Hotel dining room in Midtown Manhattan or on the left bank of the Seine. Most of the writers were products of an urban formation. All were educated, many were deracinated, and some were less than sophisticated. They had fled Sinclair Lewis's Main Street, never to return. They had ridden the rails to James Weldon Johnson's Black Manhattan, never to look back. The labels they gave themselves spoke volumes. New Negroes, the lost generation. But dear Dr. Du Bois had always worried about what he saw as the inherent susceptibility of an artistic and literary enterprise to go off track, spinning in its own momentum away from what he deemed to be its central purpose. Alain Locke's denigration of propaganda, the ubiquity and persiflage of the decadent Carl Van Vechten, the growing resistance to advice from seniors of the younger writers and poets, whirly gig cocktail parties downtown and nightclubbing uptown that substituted for the integration of Manhattan restaurants and hotels, motorcades and Hudson River excursions to Alelia Walker's Villa Luaro, sex in three genders, and demeaning voyeurism. All of this began to grate on Du Bois's civil rights nerves. When the NAACP met for its annual convention in Chicago in late June 1926, he took the podium, his dry voice rising to insist that all art is propaganda and ever must be, despite the wailing of the purists. As for art, by art's sake, this was a concept as close to blasphemy for an agnostic Du Bois. Du Bois inconceivable. The civic function of the arts was what mattered above all else. I do not care a damn for any art that is not used for propaganda, he fairly shouted from the platform in Chicago. There was a growing danger of the Renaissance becoming co-opted, of handing everything over to a white jury. In a Turning Point 1926 essay he called The Criteria of Negro Art, Du Bois had stopped just short of seeing a white conspiracy behind the Renaissance, but he underscored what he took to be the obvious truth that there was a surprising number of white people who are getting great satisfaction out of these younger Negro writers because they think it is going to stop agitation of the Negro question. Here was a grave danger to which the NAACP must call attention. The efflorescence of novels and paintings and poetry did not mean that black people had gained firm control of their creative energies. The NAACP had to wage a new fight in which it broadcast that beauty of truth and freedom, which shall someday be our heritage and the heritage of all civilized men and women, is not in our hands yet, and that we ourselves must not fail to realize that. As I look out upon this distinguished assembly in a time when the Poet Laureate of the United States is an African-American woman, and the most recent nonfiction Pulitzer and Booker Prizes were carried off by two men of color, I believe that we have all answered Du Bois's concerns quite impressively. Thank you. Impressively.
White impressively?
Yeah.
White impressively. David Levering Lewis. Yes, thank you. That's one of those drop the mic moments. Before we move on to the next honoree, there's also another luminary and great elder in the room, professor of African American Studies here at the City University. I've been told that Dr. Leonard Jeffries is in the house. Dr. J, did you say Dr. J? There he is. Great to have you, thank you. Thank you for coming. So next up, receiving the Margaret T. Burroughs Cultural Historian Award. He was the Poet Laureate of East St. Louis. I was going Miles Davis country. Well, say no more. Y'all say it for me. Welcome to the stage. Welcome to the stage, Eugene Redmond, receiving the Harriet T. Burroughs Cultural Historian Award.
Okay. This is our inaugural award, the Margaret T. Burroughs Cultural Historian Award, presented to Eugene Redmond for his commitment to celebrating and chronicling the achievements of Black writers and artists. To the 14th National Black Writers. Okay, this one.
Thank you.
Milestone. In memoriam, in futurium. Dressed up in pain, the flatted fifth began its funereal climb up the tribal stairwell. Grief radiant as it bulged and gleamed with moans. Spread like laughter are Ethiopia's wings. Mourned its own percussive rise in the hoarse East St. Louis air. Bore witness to the roaring calm, the garrulous silence, the caskets of tears. The death of the cool became the birth of an ancestor. Yeah, y'all, the death of the cool became the birth of an ancestor. That poem was recited on October 9th at Miles Davis and my alma mater, Lincoln High School in East St. Louis. The alma mater of Barbara Ann Tier, Leon Thomas, Jackie Joyner Kersey, and if you had brought sleeping bags and packed lunches or dinners, I could go on for a couple of days with names. Brenda has been there. Sonia has been there. Dr. Jones has been there. Got it correct that. Like I've been here speaking at, absorbing, photographing, and generally being inundated by the glory of these familistic gatherings since 1986, when they started out with Margaret Walker Alexander Of course, John O. as Maya and Margaret referred to John Oliver Killens. John O. And on and on and on. Margaret Burroughs, after whom the award I'm receiving today is named, used to say to me in Atlanta or Boston or New York, wherever we were, early the first morning after a conference began, boy, take me to a Goodwill store. Everybody who knew her well knew that she wanted you to take her to the Goodwill. But what we knew was that perhaps the single most important institution builder in our culture, the Southside Community Arts Center, 1937, where Richard Wright, Katherine Dunham, Gwendolyn Brooks, and others hung out. The DuSable Museum of African American History, 1962, where you name it, hung out. Shall I mention others? But Margaret Burroughs, yes. One of the most important, if not the most important institution builder. Take me to the Goodwill. Long-distance warriors, dreamers, and rhymers were my parents in memory of John Henry and Emma Jean Redmond. Oh, classical mamas and papas, solar-centered lovers and parents of drum, scripture, and pyramid, Nile cool and Benin blue songa fires, diasporan daddies and Honey and the Rock divas, ship huddled and cattle hurried across an, Dr. Jeffries, Ethiopian Ocean. Fine brown arcs, war poised and prayerful. Long distance dreamers and W.E.B. soldiers smelting ancestral ore into double conscious rhymes of epic passage, epic pain, epic spillage. Stolen legacies rocking burdens beside the Mississippi. In my place we call Arkansas. Creeping, racing like Ogun's archers and Harriet scouts through still away nights, militantly upright or shape-shifty, you wing, whisper, and arm us with clouds of joy that swing low and fetch high. Olmec and Soul Trek, Nat Turner and Sojourner, Dumbo and Johnson, Hughes' Blues, Mahalia and Maya, BB and Cece, Bethune and Duma and Duke, Jive, Zora Neale and Larry Neal, Cullen and Hayden, Elijah and Umoja, Gwendolyn and Aretha, Kenyatta and Mandela, Nayeli and Amiri, Nina and Sonia, Tony and Terry, Malcolm and Jesse, Safisha and Latifa, Juju and Jesus. We bond, old parents of memoirs. Make that MEMWARS. And love mergers. Ritual and very gay. And very gay. And very gay. Storefront saviors. Cornbread fantasies. Hambone and banjo, railroad and gumbo, Thurgood's legions, kings, cadres of orators. Oh, epic parents of Mother Shore and Father Ore, smelting generations of fine brown arcs. Warriors, dreamers, and rhymers. And finally, a 49-word poem invented around our workshop table in East St. Louis, Illinois in 1995 called the Kwansaba, taught in schools in South Africa and Japan, Australia, Finland, Latin America, and across the Midwest, this poetic form, the Kwansaba. We have come out of a year of commemorating one of the most heinous single time of slaughters of our people, the East St. Louis 1917 racial pogrom. And so this 49-word poem captures that, the Kwansaba. Still word and deed bonding a 100-year-old Kwansaba. We miss no minds, just mesh them artfully, like poets investing in an economy of speech, as house-calling omens of 60s mind Africanities and resolve. We're innate, ornate staples and bonds. Our own forebearers ending 100-year-long night of rafting across a burning river.
Eugene Redmond, y'all. Bro, I thought you said you was about to do a 49-page poem. I was like, whoa. One part of brief, 7 minutes, it was 7 minutes. No. That was beautiful. That was beautiful. No. But all jokes aside, I love that. David Leverin reading an essay. Brother Eugene dropping the mic with some poetry, opening up his remarks, performing, dancing. Y'all saw him dancing, right? I was like, go ahead, do that thing. What's in the water in East St. Louis? Well, all them folks you mentioned from your high school, what's in the water? What kind of water y'all gathering at? Some red clay water? Well, we might need to go by there and do a little pilgrimage to that water. And before we do, I want to bring up the next honoree, because she said she would read, so I'm not even going, no need to hide the next honoree who couldn't make it because he missed his flight. but I do want to shout him out for publishing more than 3 million words of fiction, covering more than 30 novels of science fiction, horror, and suspense. His television work includes the Emmy Award-winning A Stitch in Time, episode of The Outer Limits, and episodes of The Twilight Zone, Andromeda, and Stargate SG-1. Barnes is a winner of the NAACP Image Award for In the Night of the Heat, co-written with his wife, Tanana Reeve Dew, and actor Blair Underwood, and is a founding pioneer of the literary Afrofuturism movement. His latest novel, 12 Days, was published by Tor Books, 2017. So now that we've had a dope essay shared, some poetry and dance, I think you should come up, Sister Dew, and read as one of the characters from y'all's books. No, I'm just teasing. Please welcome back to the mic Tanana Reeve Dew to accept this award for her boo, Stephen Barnes. You're welcome.
That's my man, y'all.
Where's the award? Uh-oh. What you want? You start your thing. Right. Talk about your man.
Okay. Wow. Someone needs to record this so I can send it to Steve. I didn't have my phone with me. Stephen Barnes has been publishing science fiction for a very long time, long before it was fashionable for a black man to be publishing science fiction. You had Samuel R. Delany out in the field before Steve, but a few others who, and especially when you consider his pioneering television work. I guess I'll tell a little story. That's how I met him. Someone saw my work and said, you know, you should meet this other writer, Stephen Barnes. I had a list of attributes, none of which were true, by the way, but I thought, but I happened to be watching my very first episode of the Outer Limits television show, and it starred Amanda Plummer, and it was about a scientist who invented a time machine so she could go back in time and strike serial killers before they could kill. And I thought, ooh, this is a good show. If Stephen Barnes is written for this show, I need to meet him. And it turned out that was actually his episode. So I had help meeting Stephen Barnes from several fronts. And it has been the joy of my life we'll be married 20 years in August. We met at a writers' conference at Clark Atlanta University on the African American fantastic imagination, explorations in science fiction, fantasy, and horror, which is also where I met the great Jewel Gomez, and also where I met the late, great Octavia E. Butler. So that was literally a life-changing event for me in the way I hope for some of these young writers who are here today. This will be a life-changing event for them as well, because that was the first time I had a glimpse of this world of Afrofuturism, which is a movement that now needs very little explanation, because when people say, well, what is Afrofuturism? I say, well, go see Black Panther, and then we will talk. I mean, it's only a part of it, you know, and Afrofuturism is not just, you know, comic books. It's certainly not just Marvel comic books. It's an entire movement of literature, music, art, film that coalesces around this radical idea that not only were we here in the past, but we will also be here in the future. And blending that idea. We have been erased in a lot of literature, film from the past. There were no black people at all in the first Star Wars film. So look at where we have come. For those of you who are writers of the fantastic, who did not know if there would be a place for you, Steve wondered that. He wrote a lot of collaborations with other writers, including Larry Niven, the late Jerry Pournelle, because he did not always know that there would be a place for him as a black man writing science fiction. He wrote an amazing opus called Lion's Blood, an alternate history, in which the Americas, well, Balalistan, was colonized by Africans bringing European slaves to flip that narrative and not only help readers of European descent understand what it would have felt like to have been enslaved, but also to help those readers of African descent imagine what could have been, that what happened was an accident of history, and it is not the future. We are helping to create the future through visualization and art and community. So I can't literally speak for Steve. No one can do that except him. But I will say that he's been a blessing, and it has been a joy to walk with him as a lion and a lioness, is how we sort of look at it, to help create visions of the future. So thank you very much on behalf of Steve for this amazing award.
In recognition of this award presented to Stephen Barnes, in recognition of his dedication and commitment to creating a body of speculative literature.
Give it up for Stephen Barnes by way of Honorees due. That was beautifully well said. Thank you. So this is the moment for the brothers who ain't here. So for the next honoree, he sent a note. This honoree, who is the #1 New York Times bestselling author of The Underground Railroad, winner of the 2016 Pulitzer Prize in Fiction, the 2016 National Book Award, the Carnegie Medal for Fiction, and named one of the 10 best books of the year by the New York Times Book Review. He goes by the name of Colson Whitehead. So Colson has sent a note, and I will share. Hello, all. I'm very sorry that I can't be with you today, but I console myself with the knowledge that you are in good hands with Brenda and Clarence. I know you are enjoying yourselves. I'd like to thank the conference for honoring me in an award named for Toni Morrison. I'm actually ashamed to be mentioned in the same sentence as her, for I am not worthy. When I was about to start writing The Underground Railroad, I thought it might be instructive to go back and revisit some of the great novels that have dealt with slavery. Sometimes you want to know what people have done before you. Sometimes you don't want to know. But in this case, I thought I'd go back to the classics. Beloved by Toni Morrison, The Known World by Edward P. Jones, The Middle Passage by Charles Johnson. And I sat down to reread Beloved, which I hadn't read in 30 years. I got to page 20 and said, damn, I totally screwed. You can't do anything better than Toni Morrison. I put the book down, and that was the end of my revisiting the classics. I was pretty disheartened, but then I remembered something that cheered me up when I first started writing, something that kept me going. Why do I have the right to put a story out into the world? Why should anyone care what I have to say? And I told myself basically, no matter what you're writing about, slavery, World War II, family, someone smarter and more talented than you has written about it before. Maybe it's Toni Morrison, maybe it's Langston Hughes, but someone has already done it. If you accept that and don't worry about it, and just try to bring your individual perspective to the subject, your uniqueness, and you'll be okay. And I kept writing. So thanks to Toni Morrison for inspiring us, for outdoing us, and for providing an example to what it is to be an artist. And thanks to the National Black Writers Conference for mentioning my name in the same breath. It's not something I could have foreseen back in the day, so I'm truly humbled. Thanks to you all. Colson Whitehead, y'all. Y'all better tweet him and let him know we're missing him, we missed him, and we are praying that he feels better sooner. And I think this is about to come to an end. Somebody trying to do my job? You trying to take my job with the last presentation? So, I'm going to call up the last honoree, the slideshow. I'm calling up the slideshow. I know. I'm going to give you the mic. If Eugene gets 49 pages, you can have 40 minutes. So you might know some things about her. Do I need to go through her bio? No. Yeah, you want to give a little bit? After 27 years as the chief editor of Essence magazine and the visionary credited with building the brand, Susan L. Taylor left publishing to devote her life to building an organization that is devoted to breaking the cycle of intergenerational poverty among African Americans. It was that enterprising spirit, wedded to a deep love for her community, that led to the founding of the National Cares Mentoring Movement in 2005. As Essence Cares, with local affiliates in 58 states, National Cares has recruited, trained, and deployed more than 140,000 mentors to schools and youth support mentoring organizations like Big Brothers, Big Sisters, as well as in its own culturally rooted academic and social transformational initiatives. A community mobilization movement, National Cares is the only organization dedicated to providing mentoring, healing, and wellness services on a national scale for Black babies. Please welcome Susan L. Taylor. Please welcome Susan L. Taylor.
The Ida B. Institutional Leadership Award presented to Susan L. Taylor for her commitment to providing mentoring, healing, and wellness to children and women. Come forward.
Thank you so much, Dr. Green. I asked not to speak, but to show you a video that explains what I'm dedicating my life to, and that I should have just a small measure of the courage that Ida B. Wells Barnett exhibited throughout her life. One of my great joys was visiting her home in Holly Springs, Mississippi. She is my beloved, a person who is a way shower for the work that I feel we need to do. And I want to say, Dr. J, I wish I knew how we could make our people love our people more and link arms and aims to disrupt Black poverty. So what I'm dedicating my life to is the National Cares Mentoring Movement. You heard that it was founded as Essence Cares right after Katrina just devastated New Orleans, where the Essence Music Festival takes place. And I said I wasn't going to speak, so let me put a period here and say that, for so many years, I've been so annoyed at media for demonizing us, especially our men, but never asking why Black poverty, why Black pain. And I really wanted to do that. And I asked my husband to document some things for me and pull images, which he did. And I'm going to show you a little film that really talks about the roots of Black poverty and pain that continue on today, and also that healing is possible. And you'll see that in the time that was allotted to me to speak, which is about 8 minutes I said I would take. So thank you. If we could dim these lights up here, then I think people could see the screen.
Look back. This is the truth of who we are. The villages and communities of our African forebears were bound by the belief that family and the elders were to be revered, that all endeavor was for the children, for they mattered most. But the pillaging of resources of people over centuries destroyed Black lives and their civilizations. This is the truth of what happened to us, the story rarely told. Captured and cargoed to the Americas, enslaved Africans and their Caribbean, South Central, and African American descendants endured well over 250 years of forced labor. We are the benefactors of the Western world's enormous wealth. the uncompensated lifelong labor on which capitalism was built on the lands appropriated from the indigenous people. Resilient, we survived to see emancipation, and during Reconstruction made greater strides in a shorter period of time than any group in the history of this nation. African Americans acquired land, built churches and businesses, established black colleges and universities, elevating lives and serving in Congress. But today, millions of African Americans exist in the grip of poverty and the lies and stereotypes of black pathology used to explain it. That dream-crushing poverty is not the result of black pathology, but the cause of it. It is a poverty not of ambition or an industry, but of means, a poverty rooted deeply in the denial of opportunity, legalized injustices, underfunded inferior schools, and the inherited disadvantage of more than centuries of lost income. Today, black pain and poverty are criminalized, and our young are murdered with impunity by those pledged to protect and serve. Policing in the United States begins with the slave patrols, organized to protect property. Black people were property. Post-emancipation, the incarceration of black men becomes a way around the abolition of slavery. Chain gang labor and convict leasing programs marked the birth of the prison industrial complex. Sharecropping virtually re-enslaved black families for generations. The black codes and vagrancy laws ensured that black men who could not find work will be arrested, imprisoned, and forced back into slave labor. Domestic terrorism begins with the KKK and the thousands of lynchings of black men, women, and children. Poll taxes, literacy tests, intimidation, and murder keep black people from the polls. Redlining denies us loans and banking services, barring those avenues to building wealth. Prosperous black communities in Chicago, Atlanta, East St. Louis, Rosewood, Florida, and the storied Black Wall Street of Tulsa, Oklahoma, are burned to the ground in envy. Aid to families with dependent children creates the fatherless black household with the mandate that no adult male can reside in the home. Mafia drug cartels target black communities with heroin, the CIA with crack cocaine. But nothing in recent times has wreaked greater devastation than the war on drugs. Targeted, arrested, convicted by white juries, handed lengthy sentences for offenses that got others a slap on the wrist. Generations of young, poor, black and brown people have been disappeared behind walls of a for-profit system of mass incarceration. Incomes were lost, black families and communities destroyed. Lost also with the wisdom, traditions, and know-how that are passed from parent to child. This is who we are, and this is how we got here. But the truth of black existence and resilience always struggles to the surface. The young we serve in 58 U.S. cities are mostly the offspring of those whose lives were torn asunder. They are the children most in need of the village we're rebuilding. Hear them speak for themselves about the efficacy of group mentoring with CARES-trained leaders, psychologists, social workers, and volunteer mentors. See how CARES culturally anchored and proven curricula are changing and nourishing their lives.
The best day I ever had was the day when we had the Sankofa.
You put your right hand down and your left hand up. You just relax. I clear my mind.
Negative energy out, positive energy in. You just breathe, you let everything out. All the negative energy come out.
Before I was in the Rising program, I had a lot of stuff on my chest. My dad is in jail. I was mostly thinking about that more than I was thinking about schoolwork. The stuff that was on my chest was just running through my mind.
Always thinking about things with my mom because currently she's in a mental home. She's schizophrenic. It was kind of really tough growing up.
My mom, she didn't know how to deal with her hurt and her pain, and she made some wrong choices, and those choices came on to me.
My oldest sister, she done been incarcerated 3-4 times from 18 to 22. I done missed, what, 10th grade, half of my 11th grade. At the time that she was back and forth to jail, her son was just turning 1, just had a daughter. I make sure everything taken care of at the house, taken care of with the kids, and miss out on that very important education. That I just let people think what they think about what's going on, like, oh, he probably just missing school to miss school, not knowing that it's a reason behind everything.
To see people being shot and killed in front of me, not 1, not 2, it was many. I lost my mom at the age 12. I lost my dad at the age of 9. I didn't feel like I was being loved, and I was in and out of children facilities. And I felt like I didn't have no family.
When I first heard about the Rising program, I really thought I knew everything on my own. I didn't need anyone's input on nothing.
I was just like, hey, this is a free time to get out of class. I'm getting out of class. They let you know it ain't that type of party. I don't like to talk about the negative things that happened in my life, but like coming in, I'm chilling with them, talking to them, they help you open up. I don't have a choice about talking to them about it because they just bring it right out you. It's not a debate about it. They just bring it straight.
It helped me with finding pieces of other people's lives and piecing it to mine, putting myself into their shoes and seeing things that I liked or things that I wanted.
Honestly, it gives me confidence, having be able to talk with everybody, like their brother, their family. It's really comforting to have that. Like, people won't judge you when you try and just get something out, get your point across. It's really comfortable.
I really like interacting with the other kids. I mean, I really like to just talk with them and find out more about them. Like, when we talk about personal stuff, like on a personal level, I like the fact that they can trust everyone in the circle, and I can also trust everyone in the circle.
I have an anger issue inside of me. I just let it all out. I felt like all the weight was lifted off my back. Okay, Chevelle, you need to get back on track, go back to this 4.0 and be what you want to be.
We had to make up a handshake with a partner, and it really taught me, it's the weirdest thing ever, but it taught me about teamwork. I've never really been able to work with someone else and think about their ideas and think about my ideas and then put our ideas together.
And it's a relief that I can even walk into a classroom and feel hurt, but when I leave, I feel more successful.
The Rising program is a very trustworthy group. You're gonna be loved 100%. I'm super happy.
They made me feel as if my words inspire them. And by them telling me that, it makes me want to do more.
Be needing that break over time, too. Be needing that break.
Before the Rising, the biggest dream.
You can end it there. It's okay. Brenda Green, wherever you are. Brenda Green, thank you so much for this honor.
That's right, give it up, Susan L. Taylor. I don't think she can hear you. Is that video online?
No, it's not online.
We gotta call you.
No, you don't.
That's
Have
good.
You have to join the movement.
There we go. That's what I'm trying to. There you go. Tell them. How do they get it? How do they get? How do
We
they
need
get
to
to
link arms and aims. We're only asking Brooklyn. How many of you reside here in Brooklyn? Brooklyn Care needs help. Brooklyn Cares needs help. We need board members and supporters. In this region, we have Brooklyn Cares, Harlem Cares, and Southeast Queens Cares. And I was just telling Eugene Redmond that I'm just coming back from St. Louis, where we have St. Louis Cares. And O'Fallon, also, out in O'Fallon, there's a Cares movement. You know, it's not nuclear physics, it's love. It's really through group mentoring, a few psychologists, a few mentors with whole schools, helping children to understand their history, their culture, their value, and giving them the love that their parents, and that's the other part of the video that I didn't show. It's called the University for Parents. It's still in pilot, and it's in Atlanta. And we're taking people who've been marginalized, who have given up hope, who may have been incarcerated, drug addicted, people who our society has written off. You know what we're doing? We're writing them back in. And we're just holding them, lifting them up, and moving them forward in a way that somebody did for us, or we wouldn't be sitting in these chairs today. So that's the work. Anybody interested in joining the work? Just see me after the program. Thank you.
Gathering at the Waters. Gathering at the reception. Get your tickets now. And before you get your tickets, get your book signed. So I want to thank everyone for coming this evening. Let's have another round of applause for our esteemed guests. Give them a whole lot of love. I'm not sure why you're sitting on your seat. Give it up for the honorees for the 2018 National Black Writers Conference, a gathering at the Waters. So what's going to happen now? Yes. So the honorees are going to stay on stage for a book signing. So if you have books of theirs that you would like to have signed, we're going to start lining up over here. And if you don't have books of theirs yet, there are books in the lobby for sale. Support Sisters Uptown Bookstore that has the honorees' books on sale out in the lobby. The honorees will be signing 3 books max with just your name. We don't have time for photo ops because we need to get them to the reception. So you can get your books and your tickets to the reception out in the lobby. Yeah, we're doing photo ops right now.
We always go, it seems, we always go to the ocean. We always go to the ocean at low tide. We could walk deep. We could walk deep into the sea and never be.
So I'm going to review the guidelines for the book signing. So we please wait online here. House left. Please be sure to have your name on a Post-it that you can get here at the bottom of the steps. There will be no lengthy signatures, no personalized notes. They will sign your name, which actually makes it much more of a collector's item. There will be no photos with the honorees. You can take photos at the reception. Our honorees will sign no more than 3 books. Because I said so. You don't want to test me. Right? Yes. It was lifting me up. She should, right.